if somebody who's not been a good student, can they get in a good MBA college?
A brand manager is somebody, and this is something that I tell every day when I look into the mirror, that I am someone whose only my whole and sole purpose is to do a very good stakeholder management, because that is literally one of the toughest things to do. Wherever you're going to interview, they're going to ask you why is it that you want to do an MBA in the first place, and you can't say because I want to make more money, because nobody will accept that as an answer. So don't try that.
We have Tanya Shridhar, who is a brand manager at Titan. So please welcome with a huge round of applause. Okay, so I just was doing a quick room check, and 3 of them wants to be brand manager, and they all are they want to do a career transition and then do
So
this.
my job is to convert all of them to brand managers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so you have to be like give them food for thought of or actionable steps to how they can do it. But moreover, before that, we'll just cover your career trajectory and how did you start. We'll start with you introducing yourself first, and then we slowly build up from there.
Hi everyone. Firstly, who are those 3 people who want to be brand managers? Okay, very nice. Congratulations, you're on the right path. I am Tanya Shridhar. I have started my journey as an architect, and after that I went into doing marketing. And now the only marketing corporate experience that I have has been in Titan. Before that, I worked 1 year in ADP, which is an architectural firm. So this has been my trajectory. I've been born and brought up in New Delhi, so that's north. Then I've gone to my undergraduation in East, which is Ranchi, and my post-graduation in West, which was Ahmedabad, and now finally I'm in South. So I've covered all North, East, West, South of India, and this is what my life has been like.
Awesome, Tanya. Okay, so you did a transition from architect to marketing. At what point did you decide that you wanted to do that switch?
It was interestingly during the time I was working as an architect. So when I entered the job scenario, I was working as an architect as well as a business development manager. And while I was doing that, I realized that business development and marketing for an architect is very difficult, because India, they don't allow you to market outrightly. You can't put in money in Meta, etc., and you can't say that you're an architect, so come consult me. That is against the laws. So therefore, I had to find out very interesting ways to market in an architectural firm, and I would, like go to forums which are about education. I would meet all the top people there and tell them, okay, if you want to build another institute, you should come to our firm. So that was, how I would find different ways, and that is what got me into marketing, and that's where the journey began.
Awesome. Okay, Tanya, so in our previous session, we kind of covered this segment, but I wanted to ask you the similar question. How much do you think your personality influences your career choices?
Influences a lot, and in fact I am a true believer that you should be where your personality takes you, because that is where you will be able to outshine others. If you're doing something which is out of your comfort zone, do it like step by step. Don't be, if you're like an outright introvert and you want to excel in sales, so it will not happen very immediately. It will happen step by step. So I think one should be looking at their own personality traits, and then thereby choosing what kind of a career profile they want to choose, because if it complements it, it is something that you're then destined for success.
All right. Speaking of personality and careers, what kind of personality is required for a brand manager?
At the risk of generalizing, see, everybody is acceptable. It's not like there is like a certain knack that you need to have for creativity. So if suppose you're somebody who's absolute, if you think you're not but you might be, then that's a different case. But there is a little bit of knack for creativity. There's also a little bit of knack of analytics. So both of them when combined is when you make a good marketer. And that is usually the combination that everybody is looking for. In fact, Mica was also my top choice because it gave me both these things. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to join Mica, because it gave a little bit of analytics and a little bit of creativity. And that, I think, is what's required in this new world.
What did your B school checklist look like before getting into an MBA college? What were some of the things that comes right on top of your mind that this should be ticked?
What usually people aspire is the top IIMs. So I also started my journey like that. But at the same time, one needs to be cognizant of the fact where is it that you want to do your specialization. So I was very what I used to do is I would go to and talk to a lot of people who are already doing certain specializations, and in India there are primarily four. In generally in MBAs there's primarily four. You have finance, you have HR, you have marketing, and you have ops. And amongst these four, I was a little sure that I would want to do either HR or I would want to do marketing. So finance and operations, I knew my own strength, so I kind of backed out already. But once I kind of zeroed down on these two, I focused on these people, whoever had made a little dent in the mark of these trajectories. And that's where I kind of started checking in, okay, maybe this is something that I should be pursuing. And I narrowed it down to marketing because a little bit of a difference between HR and marketing is that if there is something that you're trying to make a change in today's environment, in HR, that policy, once it gets finalized, the human nature is such that it'll take at least a year to see the kind of impact. But in marketing, that is not the case. So I thought I should stick to marketing for that reason. So those were a few checklists. I knew what kind of specialization, where to, and kind of combinations. Of course, what kind of placement happens, that's also something that you need to be looking at very for, that whatever you're eyeing in terms of companies, are those companies coming to the colleges that you're trying to get into?
Just wanted your opinion on this. So, if somebody who's not been a good student, can they get in a good MBA college? By good, I don't mean definitely top IIMs because there are certain criteria that you need to fulfill for them. But can they get into good college if their acads are a little poor?
There are two parts to it. One is that what kind of a belief system you are coming from, and the other is what is the system telling you. The system by nature has been designed in a manner that people who have cut at a certain, they have cleared a certain cutoff are the ones that will be eligible to participate. Or for instance, there'll be like marks given to what have you done in your undergrad, what have you done in your postgrad. All of that will be taken into account. So it is not as much about being a good student or not. It is, I think, more about, are you curious? Are you a learner? Would you want to learn all these things now? Because any MBA college that you'll enter, it's not something that you must have done parts of it, but you've not done the whole thing. So definitely learning attitude is something that they'll all be looking at. Even while placements, they'll all be looking at that. But at the same time, the bit about whether you're a learner, like a good student or not, that what is your academic score, that will definitely be factored into your final rating whenever you go for your IIM interview. So that will definitely be there.
Okay, so before we move on any further, let's do a quick Q&A session. Let's see if they have any questions that they want to ask you specifically, so that we give enough time for a two-way interaction as well.
You told us like you had a checklist before you chose your stream in MBA. So, but you had a previous industry level experience also. But for a freshie who is not aware of this, who haven't taken any job, and so how do he choose a stream in MBA? Like he should go finance or he should go marketing or whichever stream. What should he consider?
So yes, of course, the industry level exposure is a little different, which in my case played a good part. But at the same time, what happens is there are certain things that you are innately interested in. So when you look at certain people's job profiles, you look at what is in the market, you will realize that there are certain things that you naturally gravitate towards. That will be very clear. So when you look at, methods of elimination, one or two streams you will be able to eliminate very directly, that this is something that I definitely don't want to do. So for instance, the first elimination method for me was operations. So I did not want to go into supply chain and ops because it did not interest me innately in any manner. So that is one thing. You start with mode of elimination. Then when you've narrowed it down to, let's say, two streams, two specializations, then you see why is it that you're interested in any of the two? What is the future holding? What are the kind of a bracket of what placements, what are the kind of, how much money are they generating, if you're interested, if that is something that, innately is something that you are curious about. So those 2-3 aspects, once you gathered, you realize that you will be moving towards, at max, 2 streams. That is the confusion. Then you have to speak to people who are already working in those 2 streams. The one in, the conversation in which you want to keep asking more and more and more questions, you will realize that that is the stream that you really are interested about and you would want to pursue.
Okay, and one more question. Sorry for bombarding you with questions. Do you suggest a freshie to just hold back and try some more internships in different fields so that he explore his with his interests more, or you want him to, instead of wasting time in these internships, just take the admissions a priority, like.
My personal suggestion 4 years down the line, doing what I'm doing, would be to have a taste of the industry first and then join an MBA. While I'm saying that, because I myself, when I joined from a very non-related background. Like 1 year, I had work experience, that too in architecture primarily and a little bit of marketing. So I did learn a lot. I learned everything from Micah about marketing. So there is no harm in it. But if you have a little bit of like 1 or 2 years of experience, it'll sharpen your thinking. And every time you sit in the class, you will have certain problems from your work that you will be able to associate and therefore try to find answers there. But having said that, even if you're a fresher and you want to and you're curious about, you can take live projects for sure. And internships also give you a little bit of a taste into the world. I won't say it'll give you the actual thing, or definitely not. Internships will definitely give you a little bit of taste, but that is something that you can do even once you enter. So, for instance, in my second year, I used to do a lot of live projects just to understand what the market is like. So, you can learn on the job also, but my personal suggestion is to always have a little bit of experience before you join an
Thank you
MBA
so much.
course.
Is the like marketing as a core function earlier was more creative? There's more, there are ads out there. It's more television. Now it's moving towards more digital, right? Like more performance marketing, all of that. So, like, is it transitioning? Like, do you think the creative aspect is like reducing and it's more analytics today than it was? Like, has that changed a lot? Like, you can tell from your own experience. Like, has Titan moved to a very, like performance marketing oriented? Because I think that's most of the QCom brands have moved to that kind of an approach.
So yes, of course, that is there. In fact, one of the biggest things is, even if you look at the percentage of budgets that are being allocated to performance versus the ATL, standard marketing, traditional marketing, the shift has definitely moved towards performance because the people have moved towards that area. So basically, marketing is about telling what is it that you're selling to people wherever they are reading or wherever they are, absorbing it. So therefore, if people were earlier on TV but now they're on OTT, you have to capture where they are. So that is a very natural trend basis wherever your audience is moving. But at the same time, when you spoke about creativity, I think creativity has, in fact, on the contrary, become all the more because now there are so many brands doing so many advertisements. You're always bombarded that if you are a little creative, that's the only time when you will shine. And that's the only time you will be able to capture eyeballs. So creativity has not gone down the drain. Performance, of course, it is there, but at the same time, there are a lot of campaigns that we end up doing for digital, which are very similar to what we had been doing for TV, for print. It's just that the aspect ratios are changing and the viewability and attention span is changing. That's all.
So growing up with basically beautiful ads by Titan, so we all have seen the Teachers Day wala, or the farewell wala ad, then or the Titan Raga ka ad. So all those ads we have grown up seeing. But again, generally these ads are created by agencies like Ogilvy and all. So where does the brand manager role comes in this into place?
Nice. This is something every morning I think of. What am I doing? Because everybody is doing everything. It's almost like, like I think I saw it in TVF pictures when that Naveen is the guy who's like, this tech guy, CTO is doing his tech thing. So CFO is doing his own thing. What am I doing as a CEO? So I think a brand manager is somebody, and this is something that I tell every day when I look into the mirror, that I am someone whose only my whole and sole purpose is to do a very good stakeholder management, because that is literally one of the toughest things to do. There are so many things that are running around. But a brand manager needs to be aware about what is the customer wanting, what is my competitor doing. An agency will not care. Agency will be very, very into what is it that the creative angle is towards. So I need to know where am I, what is my standing, what are the consumer perceiving of me as a brand, and whether whatever is the discussion about, for instance, Titan watches, like you mentioned, Raga. So what the Raga's top CXOs are strategizing in the boardroom, that brand, what is that brand and what is the brand that the customers are thinking in their head, and is there a gap between these two? If there is no gap, my job is done, very easy. If there is a huge gap that's built up, what the brand is, the board is thinking of, like the brand is about trust, about all of those things, but the customers are not thinking. So my job as a brand manager is to keep navigating all those lines and try to bridge the gap. So as a brand manager, it is my responsibility to be able to give a great creative brief. Whatever options the creative agencies come up to me, I should be having the ability to understand what is it that I want to pick as a concept. At the same time, I need to be very cognizant of whether it will create an impact in terms of top line and whether my budgets are going to put a dent into the profit. So therefore, all of these aspects are not something that an agency would think. But I'm not at all discarding that the agency, is not thinking about it. It's not their job. It's my job as a brand manager to be able to navigate those things and then to get a certain part of the work done from the creative agency, certain part of the work done from the product team, and then finally be able to build a brand which is in the consumer's mind.
I come from an engineering background and I want to go into brand management and marketing. Something that I find debating myself about is, would it be valuable or how valuable would it be for me to gain some media or some agency experience before I go into MBA, just to help me understand that world of where the actual execution is happening, right? So right now I'm a software engineer. So I just wanted to understand your perspective.
Just one thing I would want to say, not just to you, but to everyone, is that a lot of times we fear that if I know everything, then only I should step into an MBA, which is practically impossible. You cannot know everything, and even when you enter the job market, you shouldn't be going inside with a state of mind that I should know everything on day one, then only I'll be able to contribute. Contribution to them is definitely not the first thing that they will want. Even as an employer, I wouldn't want if somebody is joining my team, that they should start contributing or they should start giving ideas. No. First you absorb. A lot of times we end up in that chase to be able to cover all aspects and then. So therefore my suggestion is to take that pressure off, because a lot of life is left to be learning at each stage. Now itself, a lot of times when we are in the board meetings, people with 15, 20 years of experience are trying to understand what Instagram Reels are all about. So it's not like that 20 years back they should have understood or forecasted it, right? So that pressure you have to take off from your shoulders and you have to just get into the market with whatever information you have. The only thing that one can be aware of is, where am I standing? What are my strengths? What are my core interests that I have? And then navigate your career as per that. At day one, you will not be able to contribute or make an impact. You may, I'm not saying you will, definitely not. You might, but the goal is not to do that. The goal is to first absorb and then contribute.
Thank you, ma'am. And one more question, ma'am. How do you approach your interviews, ma'am? Because you are from different background. How do you convince your interview panel?
Yeah, so I think this is a very good question, and one of the things that anybody in whichever institute, wherever you're going to interview, they're going to ask you, why is it that you want to do an MBA in the first place? And you can't say, because I want to make more money, because nobody will accept that as an answer. So don't try that. What you can say is, you can look at whatever you've done so far in your journey and you try to understand that this college will be acting, whatever the college is going to give you is something you can learn from a course online. You can learn while going to another workplace. But what the college will do is, it will act as a catalyst for your career. The moment you enter an MBA, you will be bombarded with so many things that you will learn. So for me, how the answer came out was, because I was a little interested during my work experience to take up marketing, I wanted to further pursue it. And the way I could have pursued and navigated my career through these 2 years was someone like a Micah, which could act as a catalyst for my career, and that is the reason why I wanted to join them. So ultimately, it is about where your trajectory is. Day zero, a lot of companies came in, and I was not shortlisted in any of them. So I was very disheartened. A lot of people say that MBA is a waste of money, and see, of course, everybody comes from a different kind of an experience. But I think if one has put in the money, you might as well just go to all the classes and take the notes and listen to your professors and all the guest speakers.